Anyway, my question is, do you think we will ever see Apocalypse on the big screen? Of course, I'm speaking of the X-Men baddie. I mean, if they're going to bring out a larger-than-life baddie like Thanos, then why not Apocalypse?
I've always said, the X-Men villain, I mean, obviously, besides Magneto, who, is quintessential with anything to do with X-Men, the one villain I've always wanted to see is En-Sabah-Nur. I want to see Apocalypse. He is the guy. I want to see, whether or not you do a movie version of Age of Apocalypse, which even more so for me personally, I know there are lots of people who disagree, I like the Age of Apocalypse storyline as the greatest comic book storyline ever, even more than, like, say, the Nightfall series. Now, a lot of people disagree with me, and they're both awesome, so I'm not going to argue about it, but I'm just saying for me personally, Apocalypse is an incredible villain, especially when you start looking into his history, like with Ozymandias, and you go back into his formative years in Egypt and things like that. He's just an incredible, badass, terrifying villain. I think far more so than Thanos or a lot of others. So I would give my left arm, not literally, but I would give up a lot to see Apocalypse in a good X-Men film, preferably in an Age of Apocalypse. But any way we can get En-Sabah-Nur, I'm totally on board.
John, what do you think of Apocalypse being the central villain for the X-Men movie following Days of Future Past?
I'm so excited. To quote Lonely Island, I jizzed in my pants. This is for anybody who's been watching or listening to me for any period of time. I have constantly said, I mean, the one-shot, my favorite one-shot graphic novel story is always going to be The Dark Knight Returns, but my favorite comic book storyline has always been Age of Apocalypse. Now, I don't know if they're going to do Age of Apocalypse here. I mean, all hail En-Sabah-Nur, but I don't know if we're getting actually Age of Apocalypse here, but it seems to make sense, because he later also tweeted something that made it sound like this Apocalypse film he's talking about is a sequel or a second part to X-Men Days of Future Past. There's a lot of time travel. Put on your student hats. I'm about to give you a lesson. For those of you who don't know much about Age of Apocalypse, let me just give you a quick recap here, okay? So, Charles Xavier has got this son who's a bit of a psychopath. He's got huge multiple personality, okay? Like lots of them running around. His name is Legion. Anyway, Legion decides in his own little twisted mind that he's going to now make his dad's life better instead of worse. And the way he's going to make his life better is by going back in time and killing Charles Xavier's arch nemesis, Magneto, therefore making Charles Xavier's life wonderful and grand. The problem is, when Legion goes back in time to kill Magneto, Magneto and Xavier are still best friends, and Xavier saves Magneto's life by sacrificing his own. So now Charles Xavier is dead, and then it comes back to modern day, looking at the present as if Charles Xavier died 20 years ago or whatever. And Magneto is now actually a hero because he was so moved by the self-sacrifice of his friend Charles Xavier, and he started and formed the X-Men in honor of his friend Charles Xavier, saved his life. And in the absence of Charles Xavier, Apocalypse, En-Sabah-Nur, rises to power, takes over an entire continent, and is just creating mass genocide of the human race everywhere he goes. Now, Magneto is the lone hero with his ragtag group of X-Men, some of whom in our regular timeline are actually villains, is leading them and resisting them against Apocalypse. Have I lost you yet? Probably. But this is one of the greatest stories in comic book history. I loved it. I love this character. Look, Magneto is the de facto X-Men villain, no doubt. But the ultimate powerful X-Men villain, the one who rules the Four Horsemen, is Apocalypse. And I never thought we'd actually see an Apocalypse movie. And now I'm so excited. I don't know if you could tell. I'm a little bit worked up about it. I'm really, really super excited. I mean, Schnepp, what did you think about all this when you heard about it?
I was very excited. And actually, it's funny, when I saw that tweet, I thought of you because I know what a sweaty you are. So when I first met him, he was like, the Age of Apocalypse, let me tell you. It's like, when I first met him, he was talking about this. So, yeah, I was excited. I'm also excited to hear that maybe they are doing this as a two-parter. It's not called Days of Future Past 2. They're going with Apocalypse, and they're bringing in the character Apocalypse. My only concern is he doesn't have a giant A on his belt.
Yeah,
let's just get rid of the A, guys. You don't need to have it. Captain America's the only guy who has an A, so come on.
In a recent interview, Kinberg said the following: "It will focus primarily on the first-class cast, but it will certainly have some of the original cast involved too." Schnepp, buy or sell Kinberg's comments on X-Men Apocalypse?
I enthusiastically buy that. I mean, I think they set that up. This is a spoiler a little bit. Can I say something about Wolverine?
Careful.
Anyway, they set that up in the movie that if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. They set it up so that you can have the, first class moving into the 80s, which we all know that's been the game plan. 60s, then the second one is the 70s, the third one is the 80s, but also mesh in some other awesomeness with the original cast. I don't want to be a spoiler person, but I think it's an awesome thing, and I'm glad that Simon Kinberg confirmed it because I can't wait to see more adventures with Michael Fassbender and McAvoy as a Professor X and Magneto. They're such a perfect cast.
They are magnificent together, but I'm gonna sell it. Ooh. Yeah, I only because, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the movie still. I'm gonna go see it, really happy. But as great as Fassbender and McAvoy are, and they are awesome as Professor X and Magneto, nothing for me will ever top Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart as the pair. And I'll be honest with you, if I could pick and I was in charge of Fox, I'd want to do X-Men Apocalypse with the present cast. I really, really would. That's no disrespect to the first class cast. And I've been excited anyway, but if I had my choice, I'd go with the original cast.
I recently read a rumor online. By the end of X-Men Days of Future Past, Magneto will in fact turn into Apocalypse. Wow, sorry guys. Apocalypse won't be a standalone villain in the movies, but will rather an alternated Magneto for the upcoming 2016 movie, which would make me so upset.
Well, first of all, this is an inside joke with us. It's Magneto. This is an inside joke with us.
The dyslexia kicked in, guys. Sorry.
Jeanette, buy or sell Quicksilver returning for the next X-Men film?
I buy it. I'm going to be seeing X-Men tonight. Hope it's awesome. But yeah, you know what? You had posted earlier, like the two character actors from
Evan
Kick-Ass.
Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson.
And they're both Quicksilver. And it's so weird when to see that image from Kick-Ass and both of the actors. Oh, yeah, that's right. They're friends. And now they're both Quicksilver. Yes. It's just weird, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, sure. Why not? Why shouldn't he be in the next one?
See, and this really goes. I have not seen X-Men yet. I'm going to go see it tonight with Amy Rose and Dennis and Schnepp. We're all going, and we're leaving Alicia behind because she's kind of a loser.
Oh,
but
she's going to
not.
China.
No, she's not.
I'm
not your bad girl.
things to do, like go to China.
But this just goes to prove. Remember when the first pictures of Quicksilver came out, and everybody saw, oh, he looks so stupid. This is gonna suck. Oh, they should have waited to see how Joss Whedon does Quicksilver right. Okay, I haven't seen X-Men yet, but everybody I've talked to who has, I know several people, including one sit at this table. Some people are saying he may be the best part of that whole movie. This is a movie. I said this on Facebook the other day. When a movie first comes out and that initial rush of reviews comes out, it can be a high rating, right? So you can get like Spider-Man 2 will come out, it's got like a 79%. But as the days go on and more reviews get added, you'll see, generally for most movies, that rating come down a little bit. X-Men came out to 91% and it has gone up. Last I checked, it was at 94%. So it keeps going up, and a lot of these guys who are rating it so high, saying this might be the best film of the year they're going to see this year, all this kind of stuff, a lot of them are saying Quicksilver is the best part of it. So never just let a costume let you think a character is going to be good or bad.
But both of us were jacking on it when it first came out. We were like, that silver outfit looks weird, disco style.
But remember I said, let's keep it in context, though.
Disco's
remember?
awesome.
So let's keep it in context. It is like the 60s, 70s. That wouldn't have looked so weird at the time, but it still did look kind of ridiculous. Let's be honest.
Jeanette, buy or sell Oscar Isaacs as Apocalypse?
I wholeheartedly buy this. We talked about this yesterday. I really hope that they don't do motion capture and they figure out a way to make it makeup and like shave his hair into that weird apocalypse points. I think it'd be great. No matter what they do, he's an incredible actor, and I'm very excited about this decision.
Christian?
Yeah, I buy it. This guy is on fire right now, and he's one of those actors that's transferring into the award-winning films and bring a lot of validity to the commercial films too. He's perfect for the role.
The movie's, by the way, been renamed to X-Men. What is it? Apocalypse? No, X-Men Inside Llewellyn Sabanur. That's the new. I buy it. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Underappreciated actor, and I think once that little Star Wars film comes out, which he's also starring in, I think a lot of people are going to open their eyes to it, and I think this is a brilliant move, great move.
I've been speaking to the guys, and I'm not at liberty to tell exactly what's going on, which is largely framing my answer here. But there's still a lot of unknown about that, actually. There are some very exciting things about integrating the whole X-Men world, including the Wolverine movie. There's some really cool things going on. Mark, buy or sell that Jackman and Wolverine will be a part of X-Men Apocalypse?
This is the easiest buy in the history of commerce. Yes, I'm totally buying this. You can't have an X-Men movie without Wolverine, especially when Hugh Jackman is still in his prime. It's like having a Star Wars movie without lightsabers. It doesn't make sense.
Schnepp?
I sell this. No, I'm just kidding. Bye. Yeah, you're right. I mean, especially since Hugh Jackman already said he's going to be in Apocalypse.
Yeah.
What now? I don't even understand. Like, what are we talking about? Like, how many minutes he's going to be in, and like,
I don't think he's ever come out and said directly, "I'm absolutely going to be in it," but I think he's teased it a lot.
Yeah.
He has to be in it. Come on, he's going to be in the third Wolverine. I just want an old man Logan. Stop messing around.
Old man Logan.
Yeah, and Miri?
Yeah, I super buy this. Also, if you just look at like chronology and storytelling, he's like a central part of Days of Future Past. Like, it's not just like, oh, Logan's kind of in there. We're not really sure if he's going to be in the next one. If there is some sort of continuation of the story, which I'm assuming there will be, he has to kind of be in the movie, even if it's just a teeny tiny bit. I can't imagine they're just going to make Apocalypse and not have him there at all.
Director Bryan Singer has announced that the teleporting mutant Nightcrawler is returning to the X-Men universe and will now be played by Dawn of the Planet of the Apes co-star Cody Smith-McPhee. Nightcrawler was previously played by actor Alan Cumming in the second X-Men film. Christian, buy or sell the return of Nightcrawler being played by Cody Smith-McPhee?
I buy the return and I buy the casting. I know that we haven't really seen too much from McPhee yet, and he didn't have that much to do in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but I thought he was fine, and I actually think he reminds me of a young Alan Cumming in that picture, and from what Bryan Singer has set up and what Nightcrawler is being fairly awkward and just very eccentric. I think that he could pull this off, and I'm curious to see what kind of chops he has, and if Singer believes that he can fit the character, then I'm all aboard.
Shep?
Yeah, I buy it too. I'm looking forward to seeing Nightcrawler again. I feel bad for him. He's gonna have to get all that blue makeup on. It's like, welcome to the Blue Club. You know, everyone's blue in the X-Men.
I buy this. And you know, as a matter of fact, the sudden disappearance of Nightcrawler after X-Men 2 has always been one of the big mysteries to me. Because Alan Cumming crushed that character.
Yeah.
And I love the Nightcrawler character, both in the comics and I love the big screen version of him. He was cool. He was pretty much universally loved in it. And then X-Men 3 comes along and just gone. Just gone.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, just go. I mean, it's always been one of those things. So I love that the character is back, and you're right. I think this kid's going to do a really good job. The age seems right. So yeah, count me in. Count me in.
Yeah,
Positive
good feelings.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I think he's going to be Angel and then turn into Art.
Oh yeah.
So because
Yeah,
it's like he
that makes
looks a
sense.
little bit like Angel looked in the comic books. I think Bryan Singer wants his take on Angel. He's like, look,
Yeah.
Ratner, you did The Last Stand. Let
Yeah.
me take that Angel back, son.
Yeah, please
So,
take it back.
Yeah, so I buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Buy it across the board.
Christian, what do you think of Olivia Munn joining X-Men Apocalypse?
I know we're not there yet, but I'll buy the picture that Ray made.
That's an awesome picture, by the way.
Goodness.
I don't want to be in Ray's apartment when he was making that picture. There was probably a lot of time went into that. I think that Olivia Munn, I know her for being famous as much as I know her for being an actress, though. And so that's the only little red flag that I think would raise.
I heard she did some tweeting with Chris Pine at some point. I'm not sure.
I've seen her. I mean, I've seen her hanging out with Aaron Rodgers. You know, that's cool. But she also has a background in sketch comedy.
That's cool. Why not?
Look, I think that a comedic actress like this, she has worked really hard to make a name for herself as a serious actress, and so her physicality is going to pay off, I think. And again, like to echo Christian and probably Ray's sentiments that he wrote in his diary last night, it's not going to be bad to look at her. There's going to be a lot of good Halloween costumes that come out of X-Men Apocalypse, if nothing else.
Cosplay.
Now, Entertainment Weekly has released new high-res images of the new film, including a cover photo of Apocalypse, Magneto, and Psylocke. X-Men Apocalypse is currently set to hit theaters on May 27th.
Sell. This looks awful. Apocalypse looks terrible. I remember before when debates used to come around, we're like, well, why isn't Wolverine wearing the yellow spandex? Because that would look ridiculous on screen. What do you want next? Apocalypse with a big giant A on his belt buckle? Oops. Turns out they decided to put a big giant A on Apocalypse's belt buckle. This looks terrible. He looks like Ivan Ooze. Now, granted, like the Quicksilver situation, once we see it in context, maybe then we'll step back and go, okay, now I see it, and this kind of works, much like it did with Quicksilver. So I'm totally open to that. But if all we're talking about is the picture in the first images, I'm looking at that, and I'm going, that ain't my Apocalypse. So,
And I can't believe I forgot to bring this up during the things I didn't like about a movie that I did enjoy. She's there to give the world Apocalypse.
Yeah,
That
she's the one who wakes
dunce
up Apocalypse.
Goes to play Indiana Jones. Oh, crap, did I leave the door open? Yeah, you did, bimbo. And now we have sunlight going in, and you're the reason why this guy who we've managed to keep quelled for over 2,000
not.
years.
He would have gotten out at that
She totally
point.
is. You got guys down there worshiping who are smart enough
who
to
have
be
no
like,
idea
we
how to
don't
open
let
it.
the sunlight in there. And then she comes in because she wants to be national treasure for a day, and then she leaves the sunlight in there. And that's why I can't stand it in movies when we have just some like insignificant thing happen, and that's why this got unleashed upon the world. That's such a fixable mistake.
Mark, just take a breath.
It pisses me
You're
off.
so angry right now.
That Professor X, because he's got this puppy love with her, he's never like, oh, hey, by the way, how did Apocalypse get out again? Did you leave the door open? Oh, yeah, I left the door open.
No, that was Bob.
Were you born in a barn? Come on, man. You can't let mutants out into the open like that.
All right, so those are the things that we didn't like.
I give X-Men Apocalypse a 6.5.
I'll give it 7 out of 10.
So my out of 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
You know, even though I'm talking about how much that I enjoyed it, I'm actually pushing with Schnepp and going 7.5 out of 10 because I did say before that I do think there are a lot of moments that are forgettable in this movie, and it's certainly in inferior movies to both First Class and to Days of Future Past, but I think it does serve this timeline well.